China has been trying to dodge questions.
China is already a force in space, but that requires continued space science.
China has landed a spacecraft on Mars.
In 2061, Earth faced a dire crisis, with the sun expanding and forcing us to find a new home. Some survivors hid in underground cities, dreaming of reaching Alpha Centauri, where a safer sun awaited. This story might sound familiar if you've seen The Wandering Earth, a movie that values teamwork and saving Earth. But in real life, if a disaster struck, who do you think would be the first to colonize Mars? China seems to be a strong contender. Why is that? Let's find out why China could win the race to Mars. In 1967, Mao initiated China's space program with hopes of sending a taikonaut into space. Candidates were selected, but the Cultural Revolution disrupted the program. Many scientists, including Zhao Zhuzhang, faced persecution during this tumultuous period, hampering progress. Despite setbacks, China launched its first satellite in April 1970, becoming the fifth country to achieve this feat. By the mid-1980s, China was launching satellites regularly and offering its space facilities to other nations. In 2003, China sent its first human into space, marking a significant milestone. In 2007, China gained international attention by intentionally destroying one of its weather satellites using a kinetic kill vehicle, KKV. This demonstration of precision raised concerns about China's space capabilities and potential research on ground-based directed energy weapons. Initially, China's space program had military objectives and focused on satellite applications for weather monitoring and infrastructure development. However, in the 21st century, the Communist Party began using space to showcase China's prowess in military, technology, and economics. In early 2022, China launched its Perspective space program, aiming to become a major space player. It includes lunar missions, an international moon research station, asteroid exploration, and deep space missions. China wants to collaborate globally, has agreements with many countries, and seeks a strong space presence in response to the US's dominant role. Its goal is to explore space peacefully while maintaining technological and military capabilities. In 2011, the U.S. Congress passed the Wolf Amendment, which limits NASA's ability to work with Chinese organizations and scientists. This led to China being excluded from the Artemis Accords, an agreement for peaceful space exploration. The reasoning behind this move, as explained by Republican Congressperson Frank Wolf, was the concern that collaboration with China could lead to intellectual property theft and the application of joint research to sensitive military technologies, like ballistic missiles. Chinese hackers have previously breached computer systems at the Department of Defense, the U.S. Naval War College, the Pentagon, a nuclear weapons laboratory, and even the White House. There have been cases of traditional espionage too. For instance, in 2008, an American physicist, Xu Quansheng, was convicted of transferring information about U.S. rocket technology to Beijing. In 2010, Dongfang Cheng, a former Boeing engineer, was found guilty of providing China with a vast amount of sensitive information, including details about the U.S. space shuttle. In response to this exclusion, China has taken significant steps in the world of space exploration. They've built their version of the International Space Station, forged scientific partnerships with numerous countries, and developed a domestic space industry on par with the United States, all without American involvement or oversight. China achieved several milestones in recent years, including the completion of a coastal spaceport in Wenchang for larger rockets, successful missions like the month-long stay on the Tiangong-2 space station in 2016, and the groundbreaking landing of the Chang'e 4 spacecraft on the far side of the moon in 2019. In 2020, they launched the final Beidou satellite, creating a navigation network to rival the American-owned Global Positioning System, GPS. One of the most significant achievements in the past decade was China's mission to Mars. The Tianwen-1 mission arrived at the planet in February 2021 and after careful planning, the lander made a soft landing in May. The Zhurong rover was then deployed to explore Martian geology, search for water, and transmit data back to Earth. All these accomplishments are a source of immense pride in China and are intertwined with the Communist Party's mythology. For instance, China's Changzheng Long March rockets drew their name from a historic military retreat during the Chinese Civil War. This retreat covered 9,000 kilometers of rugged terrain, played a crucial role in Mao's rise to power, and is seen as an example of heroic sacrifice for achieving greatness. Using this term for their space program carries deep symbolic meaning. In recent years, China has shifted its approach, moving away from loud declarations of communism's superiority and instead embracing elements of nationalism and historical myths. This change is evident in the names given to their space missions and equipment. For example, the moon-orbiting spacecraft in 2007 was named Chang'e-1 after a legendary fairy who attained immortality by stealing an elixir and flying to the moon. On the space station Tiangong, astronauts traveling in the Shenzhou capsule, aka Divine Vessel, reside in the Heavenly Palace, named after the abode of the celestial ruler in Chinese mythology, who holds supreme authority over the universe. The term taikonaut is a blend of Mandarin and Greek, symbolizing that space is not exclusive to Americans and Europeans, reminding us that for every Artemis, there's a Chang'e. Despite a legacy of secrecy, China's space capabilities are growing. The Chinese National Space Administration, CNSA, operates multiple launch sites, including Taiyuan, Xichang, and Wenchang, which support various missions, including those with taikonauts and uncrewed endeavors. Ningbo, a new launch facility near Shanghai, is expected to launch 100 rockets annually in quick-fire liftoffs, similar to the Kennedy Space Center's location. China views space as pivotal to its plans, adopting a techno-nationalist approach to modernization. Ningbo aspires to become China's space city, benefiting from proximity to launch industries, a major port, and other space-related sectors in Shanghai. Geely, China's largest car manufacturer, headquartered there, invests in satellite design and aerospace industries. China's commercial space industry is growing, although it lags behind the U.S. in private funding. The Chinese government encourages private investment, but state ties remain strong. Over 100 private space-related firms exist, with some stemming from the government sector. Xpace, a rocket manufacturer, is a subsidiary of the state-owned China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation. China stands as the sole nation with its sovereign space station, signifying its astropolitical significance. Private companies like iSpace aim to make strides, but they face challenges. To address this, the government permits the transfer of restricted state technology and expertise, fostering civil-military fusion. This aligns state, private, enterprise, and top research universities, creating technological hubs. China benefits from a vast, dynamic workforce, producing numerous scientists and engineers. In contrast, the U.S. sees declining engineering graduates. Beijing plans to enhance its Beidou navigation satellite system, akin to GPS's boost to the economy. Beidou's military application is more precise than the civilian version, supporting the monitoring of China's armed forces and those of other nations. China's space endeavors reflect its evolving approach, combining nationalism, mythology, and technology to establish itself as a space power on the global stage. China has ambitious plans for space exploration in the coming decade. They intend to launch over 1,000 satellites, offering their services to developing countries that lack the means for their own rocket launches or satellite construction. China's space efforts have already achieved significant scientific milestones, such as the Hard X-ray Modulation Telescope, which observes black holes and has discovered the universe's strongest magnetic field. Further goals include asteroid mining, as some of these celestial bodies contain valuable metals crucial for 21st century technology. Chinese startup companies like Origin Space are developing robots to capture and mine asteroids. Additionally, China is planning another Mars probe to collect soil and rock samples for return to Earth. There are also discussions about sending probes to explore Jupiter and Saturn. One of the most politically significant projects is China's moon landings. In 2021, China and Russia agreed to build the International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, on the Moon, with 3 phases, including reconnaissance missions and eventually establishing a base on the Moon's south pole, known for its potential water resources. China's aim to have a permanent lunar presence by 2030 is seen as ambitious but achievable. This lunar base will enable resource extraction and serve as a gravitational point for deploying military satellites, offering strategic advantages. The competition for space dominance will continue, with claims on space geography intensifying. China operates its sovereign space station, Tiangong-3, while the ISS involves multiple countries. China's space station is expected to remain in service until about 2037. As the ISS approaches decommissioning by 2030, there may be opportunities for cooperation between China and the US, particularly if delays in building the Lunar Gateway occur. The Lunar Gateway is part of the Artemis program and acts as a hub for moon missions. China has expressed interest in hosting visits by international astronauts and collaborating on the peaceful use of outer space. However, the path to cooperation between the US and China in high-tech science and engineering remains uncertain, with challenges to overcome. Re-evaluating policies like the Wolf Amendment could facilitate cooperation, as seen in past examples of space diplomacy, such as the Soyuz Apollo handshake and collaboration on the ISS during the post-Cold War era. Whether the two nations can bridge their differences in space may depend on their relationship on Earth. So what do you think? Who will win the race? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video.